Hello and a warm welcome to the ImproveYourPool.com World 8-Ball Pool Championships. We're at the Norbrick Hotel in Blackpool and it's the quarter-final stages. We've had 2 cracking quarters already and we're now down to number 3. With me in the studio, the captain of England, Lee Kendall, enjoying it I know, but I'm sure you'd prefer to be out there. You out there early on in the competition, what happened?
Yeah, I lost to Sonny Singh from India, who played very well against me, made plenty of balls off the break and destroyed me, really, played very well.
The impression I get is that the competition is probably at the highest it's ever been.
Yeah, there's a lot of good players in and the snooker players are coming on now, so the competition is very high standards. Let's take a look at the quarter-final draw then, as it stands at the moment. We've had 2 matches, as we said. Ben Noonan, the only Australian in the competition, losing out to Mark Selby, 9-4. A great display of pool by him, and then Chris Melling just getting through against Mick Hill, a cracking match that one, 9-8, and now Carl Morris takes on Tom Ford, snooker versus a former champion of pool, Carl Morris, and then Jason Twist, likewise one of the best in the game against Darren Appleton. That one also should be a cracker. But let's turn our attention now to the match in hand. Carl Morris, we've seen him win this championship in 1998. We know he's got great pedigree, but he hasn't had the form of late. Well, he's been playing a lot of American pool, so he's been off the English pool circuit for about 6 to 8 months now, so we don't really know what sort of form he's going to be in.
A lot of people know Tom Ford, of course. He's got a great snooker pedigree, 48th in the world. What about adjusting to this game? He's very keen. He's come all the way through the qualifiers.
Yeah, what will help Tom is he's going now up to an 8-foot table from a 7-foot table, so his snooker background will put him in good stead for this match.
Who do you see going to tonight?
I'll go for the experience of Carl because he's very clever with the rules and he could quite easily tie Tom up in knots, as we say, in the pool game. Well,
let's see how they got there. Starting with Carl Morris, and as you see there's his run through. Lee Clough, Phil Harrison, 8-4, 8-4, 8-7, a close one against Sonny Singh. So the man who beat you, obviously in good form there, but Carl Morris dispatched of him in that last 16. His opponent, Tom Ford, let's take a look at his record through here. And as you see, Akim Venciak in the last 64, Craig Reynolds and Steve Munro, and again a relatively easy run for him.
Yeah, just a one close match for him. It was an 8-7, but every other round he came through with a 3-4 frame margin. So, I mean, Carl Morris was 7-3 down in the last round before the TV, and ran 4 racks and won the deciding frame. So he'll feel confident as well.
Thanks, Lee. Well, we'll be hearing more from Lee Kendall in a moment, but let's join our commentary team tonight of Sean Baker, Gareth Potts, the current defending champion, and Jim Weish. But first of all, to introduce the players, it's Scott and Dave.
Well, ladies and gents, it is now time to play some pool, ladies and gents, so please welcome out to the table. He's a former champion, won his title in '98. He has reached 4 quarterfinals in the last 6 years. A big round of applause for Carl Houdini Morris!
And his opponent today, ladies and gents, facing Carl. It's his first time here in this competition. He's a professional snooker player. He's got 12 qualifying stages behind him already, and he truly deserves to be at this table today. Will you please put your hands together and welcome to the table the fantastic Mr. Tom Ford.
Our third quarterfinal then, and what a prospect it does present. From the snooker world, Tom Ford up against the experience and tactical know-how of the 1998 world champion. Well, as Lee Kendall says, a slight edge, quite possibly to Morris, but only just. And the important lag initiated there, and it looks like Morris will be kicking things off here. It's a race to 9, best of 17 for a place in the semi-final stages. And alongside me, Sean Baker. He's the man who's going to be setting things straight as far as what's going through these players' minds. And Sean, the chairman of the English Pool Referees Association. Now, Sean, something surprising to me is Carl Morris has just asked for a re-rack.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry, Sean, I find it surprising that Carl isn't seeded in this event. He's a former world champion, a 3-time quarterfinalist, and yet he comes in unseeded.
Well, the problem is the ranking points.
He obviously has not done too well, and over the years the ranking points didn't go over 3 years, and with Gareth winning the title last year, he's automatically seeded 1, and that's what's happened. He's dropped down the rankings, and he's also out of the England team, which doesn't help him either.
Yes, you can see for the 3rd time he has asked for a re-rack. Obviously not happy with the way the rack has been set. He wants all of those colors touching, and definitely the front 4. And he's happy now. So here we go to set things off. Frame number 1 of a possible 17. Morris with the controls. First order of business completed. Ball off the break, and look at that cue ball spinning. That's not what the players are looking for. They're looking for a dead hit, but I can tell you with that new spotted cue ball, it magnifies a miss hit. And this looked to be just a bit of a miss hit from Morris, even though that cue ball stayed in the center.
He's made a red though in the right-hand middle, and it's exactly what he wanted.
In play.
And he's gone for reds.
Dream opportunity here for Morris.
Yeah, Jim, he's got a great chance here. Let's say first frame, get his hand on the table, and it looks like he could have a clearance on straight away here. Probably want to take that awkward one on the left-hand side of the table. Yeah, he's going to take that one next and probably go back up the table for the one that's near the top rail.
Great shot. Just a little short of ideal pace. It looked like he was going to be perfect on that top red, but Morris has had to win 6 matches to work his way through here to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, as you say, because he's not seeded anymore, he had to play in the qualifying rounds. There's 3 rounds of that, and then he's played, say, 3 rounds in the last 64 to get this far.
And now, Sean, speaking of coming in unseeded, tell us Tom Ford's background here.
Well, Tom Ford, incredibly, his tournament actually started on a Thursday afternoon at Great Yarmouth in April. And he had to play 8 matches there to win through the English Pool Association qualifiers. And he's played the 3 qualifying rounds that Carl played in, and I say 3 other rounds. That's 14 rounds.
I've seen people put their back out playing shots like that. Even though he got the red, a smattering of applause, but Carl will not be happy with that end result.
And that's what you will see from Carl tonight. You'll see the whole routine of emotions, because he's a very emotional player, plays with his heart on his sleeve. Things aren't going his way, we'll start seeing the faces and the gestures, and the smile will quickly disappear.
Well, show me someone that accepts losing, and I'll show you a loser. These guys are competitive from start to finish, and Morris knows what it takes to be the first to the finish line. And there's the miss.
Yellow ball's in play.
And the chance now for Tom Ford. Very familiar with a 6x12 foot surface. And he knows his buddy is already through to the semifinals. Mark Selby, a convincing 9-4 win over young Australian Ben Noonan. And you know Tom wants to join Mark in that semifinal stage. He won't do it like that.
It looks like he might have had a kick on that. We see that shot again. I'm sure you'll see it. Certainly didn't look like a clean contact. And here we see again, yeah. You see there that yellow reacted and skidded a little bit.
You just can't afford to miss balls like that, not if you're going to be the last man standing. And speaking of last men standing, you just happen to have the man who, well, until the crown is passed, is the reigning world champion. Gareth, welcome to the commentary box. Have you seen anything to this point, we're in the early stages, that might set things out for you?
Well, I think you can automatically see that Carl's gone out all attack by the way he went for that first finish, and he fell out of position. But the thing is, he left Tom with an easy chance, and he actually had a really bad contact on that yellow, and that was the reason that he missed that.
Well, he's just overrun ideal position here, so this is a tricky 8. Oh, what a great shot. What a boost of confidence that'll be for Carl Morris. Terrific 8-ball. And that's the reason he leads Tom Ford 1-0 in this best of 17 quarterfinal. What a shot to finish things off with an exclamation mark.
Yeah, it was a great shot on the black there, but you see he's sat in his seat and he's not happy. When he sat down, he was slapping his face almost like he was trying to wake himself up. And so we see this shot from behind his back. That was a great shot. So he was unlucky with the position. It was a risky shot, and so he missed that by quite a way to give Tom Ford a chance.
Yes, and this chance thrown astray, wasn't it? And you know, knocking in that 8. Going to put Morris in good stead. Frame number 2. We get our first look from a breaking perspective of Tom Ford. Drop the opener. And throws his shoulder into that one.
Red ball potted.
Now there can't be a lot known of Tom other than his snooker pedigree. You see the break again. But I mean, what you have seen has to be impressive.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, we talked about this with Mark Selby earlier, Jim, that he's a snooker pro and this, that and the other. But again, Tom plays county pool for Leicestershire. And he's well up in the rankings. I think he was in something like the top 15 in the rankings the last time I looked. And he does play Interleague, which is like the Super League 9-man-a-team format. And he was part of the same winning team as Mark Selby at the April event at Great Yarmouth.
And make no mistake about it, Sean, he definitely knows the way to go about a finish. You know, he's played enough pool at an high level in top teams to know his way about a finish. And obviously he's a fantastic potter with his snooker background.
Tricky red here.
Yeah, and he's missed that. I think that just drifted a little bit on the nap there.
Yellow ball's in
and
play.
It's nestled right in the jaw, so obviously it's covered that pocket now for Carl. Otherwise Carl could have had quite an easy out if that had stayed away from the pocket, but it's a nice little safety at the moment for a safety barrier for Tom.
Does Tom want to get into a tactical battle with a Morris?
Definitely not, Jim. I think that the minute it starts to get tight, Carl's going to be a huge favourite. But I think he slightly run out of position there. He wanted to land on the ball into the centre with an angle to run off the side cushion and knock the bad ball away from the pocket. But I think you can see that the table's playing quite quick and reactive.
The only awkward yellow at the top of the table as we look.
Yeah, it looked like he played quite a clever shot there because he's actually moved that red out of the way now for him to get back up the table, and that's what he's tried to do. And he's just a little bit short on that. He was unlucky.
He decided to go after it sooner rather than later. Normally a very good recipe.
And that was always going to be the problem. Once he'd moved that yellow that I spoke about before away from that centre pocket, he was always struggling to get on this ball. And now he's in a bit of trouble, really.
Yeah, there's no real obvious safety shot here for him, Gareth. I think he's going to try the very thin cut.
30 seconds.
But the white can go absolutely anywhere here, though, Sean.
Well, double disaster for Morris. Not only has he missed the yellow, but he's bumped another yellow up towards the red over the top corner to give Tom Ford a little bit more insurance. Mind you, no easy starter. And I don't know whether he'd want to put all his eggs in one basket and take that red first.
Yeah, that's the problem he's got. I think the only red that he can pot is the one over the pocket, which is his security ball. And it looks like he's doing that.
30 seconds.
That was the problem. He just couldn't get the cue ball away from the corner pocket.
Well, right down the line, it looks like he can see this long straight red. Very difficult though. You can see clearly on.
Extremely difficult shot there with that cue ball tucked tight against the boat cushion. He's just weighing up that red there. It's over the top right hand corner pocket. What he's thinking.
30 seconds.
And to be honest, while Tom's at the table, I don't think you'll hear that 30-second call very often.
I was almost forced to taking that tricky red on. But early signs show that Tom might be fighting it a little bit.
Yeah, I was talking to Tom before this game, and he was actually looking for this to be quite an open game, where he said it's all on the break. If I can get a ball on the break, then I'll be all right. But as Gareth said, if he gets into a tactical battle with Carl Morris, I think he's onto a loser.
Well, I presume that this yellow passes the red into the corner pocket, and if it does, I think it's very much going to be 2-0.
Yes, and with Morris to break in the third, an ominous start for young Tom Ford. And that looks pretty handy.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely perfect, Jim. Just a stun down. Potty's last yellow in the right corner, the black in the left corner. It's a formality.
He plays a very compact game, very tidy. Morris, nothing spectacular, but he's more than competent in every aspect of the game. This 8 for a 2-0 advantage. Down it goes. Carl Morris off to a flyer. He's taken the first 2 here. Knows he has the break in the third. And all set to break now. Rack 3. Having taken the first 2 frames here. And Tom Ford is going to have to try and find the answer to slow Morris down.
Well, a big thing that I've noticed straight away is Carl is one of the only players so far in this tournament that is breaking from the centre, and judging by his first 2 break-offs, I think he's worked something out that the other players haven't, because both times he's broke Jim, both balls, both suits of balls here are sitting.
And I think what you'll be finding, I think he'll take reds here.
Yellow ball's in play.
Oh, he's actually decided to take yellows. Strange. With that one on the near the top rail, he's just bridging over.
The reason he decided to take yellows is he can just keep the cue ball under close control. It's just a series of soft stuns, and as long as he keeps the cue ball with it in reasonable control, it's going to be 3-0 to Carl.
Yeah, I think that's something we noticed earlier in the second quarter final with Chris Melling. Chris tends to send the cue ball quite away, doesn't he, Gareth? When he plays shots, a little bit more extravagant perhaps than other players.
Yeah, that's right. But it's a total contrast in styles, where Carl Morris needs to keep the cue ball under tight control, because obviously his potting skills are not as good as someone of a Chris Melling. So again, like I say, it's a total contrast in styles, and Malin plays that way, and I think that's what makes him so exciting to watch.
Morris has played onto the most difficult yellow that really faced him in this frame.
I don't know whether he just tried to stun back up for the yellow that he's closest to take into that same top left-hand bag, because now he's going to have to get back to that.
Yeah, now
or will he get down the table and take it in the middle, perhaps?
Well, the problem with leaving that one till last, Sean, is he's not going to be able to get so close to the black. He would have liked to leave the one that's in the middle of the table till last, and that's the reason he's taking the more difficult one now, because he doesn't want a tough black left at the end.
30 seconds.
He's missed it.
Red
Once
ball's in
again,
play.
opportunity knocks for Tom Ford.
I think Carl will be very disappointed there. It was a great chance to go 3-0 in front, especially if Tom was to clear these up. 2-1, 3-0, a huge difference.
Yeah, 2-1 and with the break, Gareth. Because if Ford could secure the remaining reds and the 8, he knows he's got the break in frame 4.
Yeah, well, Carl's just handed the initiative back a little bit because he's allowed Tom now to get his hand on the table. Like you say, he could have been to the table at 3-0 down and never really had a shot.
Understood. And you really can't see Tom Ford failing here. Just the sort of visit that he would have wanted, given the score line. And he's playing at a nice speed, too, a very confident speed. And the 8 departs the playing surface, and Tom Ford secures his first frame of this quarterfinal. It's still 2-1 to the former champion, Carl Morris.
So an interesting start to this one. Carl Morris saw the light, didn't like what he saw, but a little bit of kidology really, and it's what we're used to with Carl Morris really, because he likes to unsettle the player he's playing against, but Tom's not at all interested, is he?
Yeah, he likes to play the games, does Carl. He does every aspect of the game. He's a great player, but he always likes to play the mind games as well.
And I think it was pretty smart by Tom, who just sat there and went, yeah, you want my seat, you can have it. And at that point, Carl's got nowhere to go really, has he?
That's right. Yes,
Except to the other seat.
Well, he was turning up in that seat, so now he's swapped over, could change his luck.
Who do you think's playing the best at the moment? Because we've seen both players miss shots that we wouldn't expect.
I think it's early days. It's a little bit of a scrappy start. Nobody's really settled, so we'll see in the next few frames who settles the best.
OK, well, it's lights down, and let's get back to the action. Here's your commentator.
Frame 4. Awaiting Tom Ford. He's secured his first frame win to get to 2-1, and with the break, surprising, he's seen how successful Carl Morris has been from the middle of the table, and he chooses to go to the side. Yellow just makes its way to that middle pocket, thankfully for Ford.
Yeah, I think you find Tom will have been practicing that break in the on the practice table, so he won't want to change yet. Particularly, as you say, he's made a ball there, so he'll be quite happy.
Yeah, not much doubt he's going to be taking yellows here. And there really doesn't look like anything difficult. Just depends on that one yellow that he's nearest to.
30 seconds.
If Tom Ford was to go on and take this frame as well, that miss in the last frame from Carl is going to be even more crucial.
Red ball's in play.
Did he play yellow onto reds?
No, he can't have done that. It'd have been called a foul. If he's nominated reds, he's got to play the red cleanly, Jim. So he's obviously decided he was going to go reds.
Yeah, what a shot there. The reason that I thought he'd take yellows was simply because the yellow was guarding that corner pocket.
Yeah, I think what you said, he hadn't got an easy first yellow, if you like.
Got his thinking cap on, though. And for me, if he can secure this particular frame, and have done a complete reversal on Carl Morris. If Carl Morris was in fact just trying to have a bit of fun and play a few mind games, you know something? Tom Ford will have turned it around on him.
Well, I think you saw Tom sat in his chair at one point and just totally nonplussed. He just saw it. I think he knew. You know, people will have told him about Carl's pedigree, and so that's why he's just sat there totally nonplussed, let Carl get on with it, and then this is the greatest riposte he could have done. He's just going to come back and take 2 frames maybe, and he's put himself straight back in the match.
Maybe slightly straight here. Might need to bang this out. Oh, he's played a really good shot there. Forced bit of an angle, and that was absolutely perfect.
Couldn't hit that one any better, Gareth. And now again an 8 to have secured the last 2 frames and plant seeds of doubt in Carl Morris's camp. Tom Ford back to 2-2. It'll be Morris to break in frame number 5. Let's see this break from Tom Ford one more time. just throws his shoulder into it.
Yeah.
If you notice there, he almost parked the cue ball, which obviously tells you that he's getting through the cue ball straight. And obviously the last ball rolling trickled in the middle, but it doesn't matter as long as one goes in.
2-2. Carl Morris settles himself. He's had the measure of the break from the middle of the table. He's got the speed, everything in his mind. It's all about muscle memory here. Oh, he's hit that cue ball with a lot more force. And the same results. He almost made that 8 in the side pocket.
I don't think he'd have been very happy if it had gone in, because he's potted one of each here. It's an excellent break. So he wouldn't have wanted that black to go in, as well as
Yellow ball's
Mr.
in
Price,
play.
our referee, had been racking up again for him.
Once again, a fantastic break off by Carl. Lost the cue ball slightly there, didn't quite hit the front ball clean, but nevertheless it's still a fantastic outcome, and it's hard to see where Carl can go wrong here, Sean.
Yeah, quite correct there, Gareth. I was just thinking that the yellows are all sitting there nice, and he'll put himself back into a one-frame lead here. But interesting to notice on the break shot as well that he's not checking the pack anymore. He had that pack re-racked about 3 times, I think, on the very start of the match, and since then he's not checked the pack. So obviously he's trusted Andy, and it certainly worked for him.
Yeah, so here all he'll do is drop this yellow into the right corner, yellow into the left centre, the one that's over the pocket, and then the one that's on the top cushion last. And you know, like I say, it's really hard to see how it can possibly go wrong here.
Yeah, he's just run a little bit further than he wanted to on that one into the middle, Gareth. I think, like you said, that's obviously the one he's still going to take, and he's just got to roll this through, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a problem at all, Sean. He's just dropped down a couple of inches.
Carl is looking to join a very elite group that have secured the world title on more than one occasion. Jason Twist, Rob McKenna, Chris Melling, all lay stake to have won this event twice. Melling, in fact, has the opportunity to make it a hat trick of world titles. And Morris going through the business here in whippet fashion. And the final 8 was never in doubt. A perfect break and clearance from Carl Morris. Once again securing the lead, albeit by 1 frame, 3-2 over Tom Ford. One more look at the break that really laid the foundation for the clearance from Morris.
Yeah,
Center
Gareth
of the
Seth is
table, the
breaking.
cue off to the side. Not really the ideal order.
I think Gareth mentioned that he's just hit the right-hand side of that front ball as he's played down.
3 frames to 2.
Tom Ford, frame number 6. From the side of the table, he needs that cue ball to stay on the... Well, he needed it to stay on the surface, and that went straight into the corner. A miss hit, pure and simple. And that is not the way to the finish line. Just watch it. Straight back to the corner pocket, untouched, and down to the bottom of that top corner.
Yeah, I think you have to class that as a bad shot, Jim. You know, like you say, he's stunned straight back into the corner. It wasn't kissed in by any of the balls. So, yeah, it's an unforced error.
Quite a traffic jam in the top left corner as we look from our overhead perspective. So, certainly some work to do for Carl Morris.
Just wonder if he's going to play the red off the yellow that's over that bottom left-hand corner pocket as we look.
Well, now is it still an open table?
Still an open table now, Jim. So Tom Ford's going to come to the table and probably thinking, well, I'm going to possibly lose another one here. He's been handed a lifeline by Carl.
Yeah, and you called it there, Sean. He definitely tried to play the red off the yellow, which would have opened up the pocket for all those other reds to slide by it. Unfortunately, now he's left all the reds in the open for Tom Ford.
Yeah, because the thing what he actually did, he played the yellow onto the cushion, the side rail, to play, the red onto the side rail to play off the yellow, and that's why he missed it. He's knocked the yellow out of the way and left the red there.
Yeah, he just totally misjudged it. He somehow found the gap between the cushion and the ball, which, you know, I think it was actually harder to do that than to actually hit the yellow and knock it out of the way.
think he might have outthought himself with that opening shot, Morris?
Yeah, possibly. But I think that he's obviously got down straight away, seen the shot that was there to play, the obvious shot, and you know, really it was a massive target, so he'll be kicking himself there, because again that was a golden chance to win this frame.
Well, he's weighing up his options here. He's just trying to find the path. Let's say with that yellow being in there, just making it a little bit more awkward for him. He's got to just find his way round that. You say he's nudged that red across, so probably going to take that one now along the bottom rail. And probably going to try and hold for the red into the centre, the left-hand centre then. But whether he can do that is whether quite got the right angle, I don't know.
That's really the key shot in this frame for me. Slotted that one in like it was over the pocket.
Just wonder whether that red that I was thinking he might take it to the left middle, whether it goes into the right corner pocket. We're not sure from there.
I think it does go into the right corner, Sean, but the problem is he's got to get the cue ball around this end of the table to actually pot it into there. And I think the one, the red that he's about to pot now, there's too much angle for him to hold it, yeah, and there was. And if he doesn't land high on this, he can't get on it. Certainly if he lands Chinese snooker, he can't.
Well, this can't be good. I mean, he's just off angle on this red. And I just can't see him getting the cue ball down towards the other red. Not unless there's an angle that presents it. Well, he does have a touch. That looked like that was dead straight and bridging over that yellow. I think he's probably done as well as he can, and now he's going to be forced to try and leave himself a tricky 8 into the side pocket. Similar to Morris in the opener, tricky, but it's there. Tom Ford stays on course. 3 racks apiece, 3 frames apiece here in this quarterfinal. It'll be Morris to break off in frame 7. The 1998 World 8-ball champion Carl Morris readies himself for the break in frame number 7. It's a best of 17, a race to 9. Neither player giving an inch.
And he's come up dry there, Jim.
First time.
Yeah, so whether we may look at seeing him change his break position next time or not, I don't know. It's certainly not helped him there, that dry break. Doesn't look too easy straight away. There's a little cluster on the right hand side of the table, the bottom end. I'm just talking about this cluster of balls here. It's just a little bit awkward, so he's going to have to see how he can navigate his way around those.
30 seconds.
He's taking the maximum time allowed. 1 minute a shot's got to be played with a 30-second warning.
Ball's in play.
I think he may have an angle here, Sean, to pop this red into the right corner and top the white forward into them cluster you just spoke about and open them up like that. Well, if he can drop this one into the left centre, then he's going to have this frame at his mercy, really. It's just about the next shot. If he can put the next red, you'd fancy him to win the frame.
I don't know about you, Gareth, but that looks tough even from the commentary box. If there's any pocket presenting itself for that red, it's certainly not evident from my perspective. What a shot this would be.
You may even be taking this into the corner here, Jim.
Oh, what a tremendous shot from Tom Ford there. Our camera showed you that had to be precise to the millimeter. One more look. An acute angle into the side pocket and just drops.
I don't think he wanted to run to that yellow then.
No, he didn't want to touch that, sorry Sean, but I think he's still okay. He can drop this one into the centre, and I still think he's in position.
Yes, you'll save the red at the top end of the table for last. It affords ideal position to the 8. You'd like to have run just a little further, though.
He's not the tallest of people here, Tom Ford. Even though he's a snooker player, he's quite short, but he's made light work of that red.
And this 8 for his first lead. 4-3. Frame number 7 goes the way of the snooker player. For the first time, Tom Ford has his nose in front.
You can see here the shot that Gareth said, we talked about, where he's been a bit unlucky when he split that out. That red that he's just potting now, that could have gone over the pocket.
And this could have gone wrong. Great position. Negotiating the path between the yellows to the last red. I think he's starting to feel it out there. He's getting comfortable, and that's an ominous sign for Carl Morris.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, Tom's got a good pedigree at snooker. How many times he's actually appeared on TV? I'm not sure, Jim, whether you're aware of his TV appearances.
Open table.
Frame 8, dry break, brings Morris to the table.
Well, Sean, I do actually know that Tom Ford has actually been to the quarterfinals of a snooker tournament before. I think it was played out in China. So again, I don't think he's any stranger to playing under the TV lighting either.
One more look at the break. That sent Ford back to his chair somewhat prematurely. Return the favor that Morris duly offered him.
Carl's certainly taking his time over this. We've had the 30-second warning. Looks like he's taking yellows. Yeah, and he's decided that's a
yellow ball's in play.
Just slightly awkward. I think there's one on. No, he's got a plant there if he wants to take it on the left-hand side of the table at the bottom. Eventually, yeah, there's a little bit of distance between the balls, so it could be that he looks at disturbing that group, but he may not. There's a yellow tied up behind the black as well, so a little bit of work to do for Carl here. Certainly no gimme this frame.
That's right, Sean. I think the one that's tied up next to the black is even more of a problem than the other two yellows tied up on the left-hand side of the table, because I think those two plant where the yellow that's below the black, at some point he has got to go into it and disturb it if he's going to clear it this visit.
Well, Carl has always struck me like the type of player that enjoys a challenge, and not the sort of player you'd want to attack with the chessboard in your hands.
30 seconds.
He's certainly a master tactician. I think he's spent quite a bit of time in his youth watching Keith Brewer videos, I think. Old Loctite himself, Mr. Brewer. He's the master when it comes to the tactics. And I think Carl must have been having some lessons of him over the years.
This may be the chance here, Sean, to disturb that ball we just spoke about. He may be able to play the plant and stun the white over the table onto the black and develop it in this shot.
It looks like there's something flying around the arena again. We had in our first quarter-final with Mark Selvey, we had a bee invade the playing arena.
And that bee found a proper burial, I hope, at the foot of one of our referees.
I think it was actually Mark Selby that sent him to an early grave.
Red ball's in play.
Well, the miss comes from Morris, but it's not a bad miss.
Actually there, Jim, I think he, knowing Carl, he's actually played to cover the pocket there. That's the type of game that he plays, and he weighed up his options and thought, well, I'm not going to go game at this visit, and I'm sure that Carl has deliberately covered that pocket there and basically said to Tom, well, if you want to have a go from there, carry on.
Great opening red from Tom Ford, but he does have the problem of that red on the left-hand side as we look. So I wonder if he can get it into the open here.
He's extremely unlucky there. If he hadn't contacted the yellow, I think he'd have been into the red and knocked it out and finished with it probably into the maybe top right-hand corner pocket for his next shot. So extremely unfortunate there.
Well, you might have a second bite at it right here. Another chance to get the red into the open. Well, another full throttled attempt.
Unfortunately, it was that same yellow got in the way again. Okay. Carl must have just wished it to jump out in the way, I think.
I think so. The decision to cover the pocket there, then Sean, has looks like it may be the right one, because he's fell out of position here, and it's hard to see where his next pot's going to come from.
Well, that's the reason he's taking so much time. I don't think he sees it either, Gareth.
30 seconds.
As I said earlier, Tom's quite a quick player naturally, and you won't hear that 30 seconds, a little shake of the head there. He's not quite sure what he wants to do here.
Yeah, forced to take a very low percentage plant on.
I think he's left the yellow that's below the black to plant onto the left-hand corner pocket. I'm pretty sure that'll go. It's just a question of how the black will react. It'll go towards the red. Carl's just judging it now.
You know something, where he's left the cue ball, I think had he come down and had a look, that might have been the last place he wanted to leave it, to afford Morris the opportunity to open that yellow behind the black. Well, that's just inexcusable.
30 seconds.
So I think the thing Carl's concerned about here is how it's going to split the black with that red being in there, the two yellows.
Well, he's not taking it, so it may not be available. So quite possibly still a chance for Tom Ford. And he's left a red on here.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what he's played there, Jim, because he can pot this and get behind the one and pot the one up the cushion. Maybe a couple of inches short, but this his bad red on the cushion definitely pots, goes past the yellow all the way up into the top left.
I'll tell you what, I was watching a frame with Tom Ford the other day when he was out in the arena during qualifying, and he knocked a red in very similar to this, up 3/4 the length of the table. It's a long pot, but with his snooker background, it's something that I don't think he'll be afraid of taking on.
Well, you know what they say, confidence breeds courage.
I think he can get in behind it. He's got a second chance to get in behind it here. Screw directly back. There you go, that's better.
But now, what about the black? What about that 8 ball in the middle of the table?
Well, I think he can pop this up into the top left, as I mentioned, and send the white off the cushion, and maybe run into the black and the yellow in this shot.
Be some shot.
Yeah, and provided he contacts the yellow, he's almost certainly going to be on the red that's over the right-hand corner pocket.
This is it.
I said,
Yeah, that was a tall order. That would have been some kind of effort, that one from Tom Ford, but he's given Morris a lifeline, and muttering to himself as he goes back to his chair. You can't see Carl Morris failing here.
Yeah, he forgot about the crucial part of the shot there, Jim. He forgot about the pot. He got the cannon right. He just forgot to pot the red.
Geez, if he doesn't cannon that yellow, he's almost in no man's land. Not too sure exactly what positional thoughts Carl had in his mind there, but very fortunate to have hit that yellow with the white.
yeah, I think you might see some shots like this from Carl, because he's, as Gareth said earlier on, he's been playing quite a bit of American pool, so he's been out of our game a little bit, so he might just be a little bit rusty. So he's not exactly perfect on this, but I can't see him not knocking this in.
And nicely onto the 8. The right-hand center. Just the way Carl Morris started things out here. He squares it up 4-4 with Tom Ford in the race to 9. Frame number 9. A just score line, 4 apiece between Carl Morris, the 1998 world champion, and young Tom Ford. And I think a fair score line, as I said. both players have had their chances and both players have missed a few.
Yeah, I think you see there Carl's asking for the pack to be rechecked, re-racked, because if you know, on his last break he didn't pot a ball. I did suggest that if he stops potting a ball he'll start asking for the rack to be checked. He's now gesturing to people in the crowd as well. Looks like he's waving some of his supporters in, maybe.
A quick look at the rack of colors, ensuring that Carl is happy, and he's going to set them in motion. Frame number 9 of a scheduled 17. Nothing to choose between these two. And nothing down for Morris.
Open table.
And an open table brings Ford out of his chair.
Yeah, I think he seemed to take a little bit of pace off that break, Jim. Didn't seem to be hitting that quite as hard as he was in the first session.
There's really no, I don't know whether or not, Gareth, you get asked as we have another look here at Carl's break, but more people have asked me the secret to the break in 8-ball. I wish I had £1 for every time I've been asked. I'd be buying myself a new car, but there is no secret. You can only ever alter the position you break from and the speed with which you break. The top players, they gauge how the balls displace and try and learn from that. But there is no secret.
Yeah, well, I wish I had the secret too, Jim. I mean, last year when I won the world title, I broke great in every match. I was hitting the balls hard, controlling the cue ball, potting balls off the break, and that's obviously the key to it. Where the match where I lost in the last 32 this year, it was the total opposite. Couldn't pot a ball off the break. My opponent was potting. And sometimes that's just the way it goes at pool.
No explanation, but Morris is back in his chair to wonder why it deserted him on that particular occasion, whereas Ford is happy to accept the gift.
But I do think what makes a big difference, Jim, is the fact that, you know, Tom is a top snooker player, so he's therefore going to be timing the break a lot better, and it obviously gives yourself every chance.
Red ball's in play.
He's played there to get the yellow in off the red, and it's the yellow's hung, so he's given Carl a chance here to get his hand back on the table straight after the interval. And he has tied that pocket up, but
every chance, though, still for Tom Ford, given that he hasn't left Morris anything easy with which to start.
30 seconds.
Well, having said that, the plant was set. Did he not want that, or did he just travel too far with the cue ball? I mean, surely he was intending the red into the side, but I've got to believe that he's just overrun intended position. He's offered his hand in apology here, guys. So again, it looks like everything has come back in favor of Carl Morris.
I think the reason he's just offered his hand there is because he's got an angle here to pop this red into the right centre and screw in behind these 3 balls, Jim. Just like that.
you're still probably going to have to disturb that one, the left hand one of those 3, Gareth.
Yeah, well, disturb it or just settle for the double, Sean. Depending on the angle he's got there, he seems to have a little bit of, looks like he's going to try and knock it out, pot the middle one and knock the bad one off the cushion. No, he's changed his mind again.
Oh, he was very, very, very fortunate there. He's almost knocked that red in, knocked the yellow in with the red. And if he'd have done that, it'd have been 2 visits and I think frame over.
Yeah, I can't understand what he's played there, Sean.
See here again.
He was only ever going to knock it towards the pocket.
Yeah, forced into a low percentage double. Now has he, I was going to say, has he gotten lucky with that red tying up the yellow, but the answer, an emphatic no.
I think he should have just potted the 2 reds when he got in behind him and just settle for, you know, made sure he got good position and just settle for the double, Jim, and then it would have almost been like doubling the black, you know, because everything else would have been a formality from there on.
Yeah, because he forced himself into a double anyway in the end there. So, as you say, Gareth, probably been right to have tried that shot in the first instance. And take the dangerous route.
The formula for success in any cue discipline is just keeping it simple. Limit the movement of the cue ball.
Yeah, he's not played the best shots there with the rest, which is unusual. So, with being a snooker player, he's used to playing with the rest, Jim.
I don't think this was the intended yellow.
No, because generally, Gareth, what you try and do is clear balls from areas of the table. You don't like going up and down the table.
That's right, Sean, but because he, like you say, he played a bad shot with the rest, he's been forced into going this way, but he's still okay.
Well, if he is here, he's just okay, but this is desperately close. Well, he's getting down. He must be able to knock this black in. And down it goes once again. Tom Ford just in front of Carl Morris. 5-4.
Well, it's close at the moment between these two. And Lee Kendall here in the studio watching it from perhaps a different perspective from the rest of us, because obviously you'd like to be out there and you know what these guys are up against. It's tight, but they're starting to improve their play generally, aren't they?
Yeah, it was an awkward frame there where they were trying to just extract a finish out. Tom missed the cannoning off the red, which got in the pocket and put Carl in trouble. He almost had a chance of getting out, but didn't quite make it. Tom, typical snooker player, sort of plays himself out of position a little bit, trying to still learn this game. Yeah, he loses a cue ball, but his potting ability is always going to pull him through. OK, and as you can see, they're back up to the table, and at the moment, Tom Ford doing a good job staying ahead of a former world champion in Carl Morris, who's pulling out every trick in the bag. Let's go back to our commentary team.
And with the break in hand, frame number 10, Ford would dearly love a good break off here and a chance to go 2 clear. And once again, the table shows no mercy.
And that was the best break off of the match, probably, Jim, the way that he's timed them balls. They've gone absolutely everywhere, and he's not potted a ball. And just look at the yellows. It can be a cruel game sometimes.
You see the break shot again here. Like you say, Gareth, it's a fantastic split, and he was desperate and unlucky there. There's 2 reds tried to make, one in the middle and one in the top right-hand corner. Carl's just had a little look up at the clock there. He's decided against your choice, Gareth. I think he's going reds here.
Yeah, I think the reason he went reds is because he had a slightly tougher starting ball on yellows. I think yellows were perhaps the easier suit, but he had an harder opener. Like I said, that's the reason he's gone reds. But even so, you know, the reds are still there. I fully expect him to win the frame at this visit.
Yeah, he's only slightly awkward one is the one on the right-hand side of the table. The bottom end, but he should be able to take that down the rail at some point and leave himself with the one over the bottom left-hand corner pocket. It actually looks like he's turning to take that one now.
30 seconds.
Well, as Morris surveys the situation, Gareth, I've got to ask you, as a defending champion coming back here to Blackpool, what was the year like? What did the year mean, being world champion?
Well, it was obviously I've had a fantastic year. I mean, winning the world title, you know, it's my dream. It was always been my dream to do that, as it is, you know, probably for every other pool player. So obviously I count myself lucky to have actually achieved that. As for what I've done throughout the year, I've been quite busy on the exhibition side. You know, I've been doing quite a few of those. Perhaps affecting my practice routine slightly. You know, we've been a little bit busy with the exhibitions, but I've still put as much time in as I possibly can for this event. But yeah, it's been a good year.
Well, a worthy champion, and certainly came here as one of the players to beat again, Gareth. I know we're going to be seeing you back. You'd far rather be out there than in here, so we'll be looking for you back on our screens again real soon. But right now, Morris, he knows what it's been like. He's been there. He's been to the pinnacle of the game, and he's looking to bid to get there again. But he's got a bump in the road in the form of Tom Ford right now, dead in his path.
And yeah, I was just going to say he may use the rest here. He's already asked for it. And I know that Carl is not the best player with the rest. He doesn't play any snooker at all. I think he's give the. I know there's a problem with it. I think it's loose.
Time on it.
Yeah, he's just asked Andy Price, our referee there, just to check the end of that rest. So they say sometimes they do come loose, and so obviously he didn't want that to affect his shot here.
This year's event been very well attended. Well, you called it. You said he wasn't too adept with the rest, and you look like a soothsayer right now, Gareth. That's a horrible effort. Is he going to have to come up with a little bit of magic here? Houdini, well, this will be some escape act. Completely underhit. It was almost like he didn't play the shot with any conviction.
Yeah, I think the problem there, Jim, was he didn't have enough space between the rest head and the cue ball. There wasn't enough cue then from the end to the cue ball. I think there wasn't enough time for him to get enough power in it, hence he's ended up back at the ball.
He's got the spider out now, bridging over this yellow, trying to contact the red off the long cushion.
30 seconds.
It's like he's playing up and down the table for the red that's on the right-hand side of the table here. Got it, but has he left Tom Ford on? I think he has. He's got the yellow into the right-hand centre as a starter, and then there's nothing too difficult there.
Once again, it's a golden opportunity gone for Carl. He had the ball sitting in the middle of the table there, Jim. Whoa, he's missed the ball completely, has he?
No, I think he just feathered it. But he's overcut it.
Yeah, I've not heard the referee call foul, so he must have hit it.
Well, I saw it move, but
well, I think Carl's asking for a foul.
No, I saw the yellow move very clearly.
Well, what is important about this shot is he hasn't covered the pocket. The red actually goes past it.
Maybe a little quick.
A big mistake there from Tom Ford. Predicted him actually running out. You know, the frame from that position, and now he's just handed this straight back to Carl. So instead of probably putting himself into a two-frame lead, it's going to be level.
It's been a roller coaster ride of emotions, certainly for both players to this stage. Just over the halfway point, and Morris bidding to once again deadlock it. But as they inch towards the finish line in this match, the pressure mounts. And Carl Morris will embrace it. 5-5. The first 10 frames split here in Blackpool. Effectively now a race to 4 for a place in the semifinals. Tom Ford had an opportunity that he threw away. Don't know exactly whether you can count that careless or just maybe not quite convicted to playing the shot. It was a thin clip, but his fingers made their way back to the chair.
Yeah, he seemed to be trying to play a little tune to himself there, maybe trying to cheer himself up after missing a shot like that. It's incredible, really.
Well, just a bit quick. I mean, you counted at the yellow into the side pocket as a possible starter there, and quite possibly just, you know, the moment capturing him.
Yeah, I think Carl could have quite easily took yellows himself there from the break off. Chose to go reds because he had an easy start, and it nearly proved to be costly. Other than that huge error from Tom.
You see Carl here still having the rack checked again. Andy Price, as I predicted, he didn't pot on his last break.
players are well within their rights to request a re-rack at any stage. He's still not happy with it.
I think what he's doing is he's saying it's a gap between the second 2 balls in the pack. Well, you could get in and see that, but that's what it is. It's a gap. And Gareth, I think you'll have a view on that.
Yeah, what I always find, it's actually the 2 balls either side of the black have to be touching the black. I don't necessarily think it's so much the front ball, although people do always look, you know, at the front ball. But the yellow to the right hand side of the black there and the red to the left have to be touching.
No, you see, he's still not happy. That's what I'm saying. He's looking at that gap. Tom Ford's now gone up there and offered a little bit of advice as well. I think he thinks Carl maybe's playing up again here. But you noticed Andy actually, he's putting his fingers at the back of the rack and trying to push the balls forward. Now what I think was happening now is those 2 balls that are immediately behind the front ball are separating when he does that. You see now he's trying to push them together.
He's still not happy, Morris.
Let's see, Tom Ford's in there again. He certainly wants to get involved here, Tom.
Well, the referee would not be offering a re-rack unless he knew that they weren't set.
Balls off the first
Obviously, this is well within Morris's right. Tom knows that.
I think we're now having a little bit of a discussion between Carl Morris and the referee. I think Andy's pointing out that he's potted balls early on in the frame, and they were being in the match rather, and he was potting the ball, no problem.
Frame,
the
Carl
rack's
Morris
exactly the same way.
The scores are tied at 5 each. I can't get them together, I'm sorry, you're going to have to continue.
Well, Andy's insisting that Carl breaks. Now this is unprecedented, really. I've never seen this before.
Well, I have to be honest, I've only covered pool all over the world. I've never seen a situation quite like this either.
I think Tom's coming round to have another look again. I think it looks like Andy may have gone to get the senior referee, who in this instance is Melvin Harley.
Tom Ford can offer a smile, but
I say the senior referee's out there now, Melvin Harley.
Well, yeah, I think the thing is, Sean, if there is a gap, call it. Well, he's done it first go.
Well, now Tom spotted him. There's a gap in the balls, Tom says. Hold on.
Well, this is incredible.
We've got it all here for you, folks, from start to finish. And now Morris, well, you've really got to take a step back and gather yourself here. This is going to show some experience.
This has been more like a comedy duo, Jim, than a pool quarter-final match.
Straight into the corner pocket. That's all he wanted.
I'll tell you what, Jim, it's ironic that Mel Harley's able to go out and done that first time. About 2 or 3 years ago, Pat Holtz, in one frame, had him re-rack the balls 14 times before he was happy. He was trying mind games with Jason Twist, and Jason Twist didn't care. Jason just sat there in his chair, stony-faced. When it was his turn to break, he just got up and bashed the balls all over the table. And he saw off Pat Holtz in that instance.
Yellow ball's nominated.
Seconds.
It was a successful
Yellow
break.
ball's in play.
And Morris now trying to put pay to it. And given the lay of the land, it's going to be a hiccup if Tom Ford does get back to the table in this frame. 5-5 again, just to remind you of the score line. It's a race to 9.
Carl's doing a bit of mountaineering here. He's on the table. Played a nice little shot there just to remove that red out of the way. Just used it to cushion the cue ball into position. I think his only awkward positional shot he's going to have is the one that's at the bottom end of the table. Plenty of space on. I was just going to say, there's plenty of space on the right hand side of the table, and he's nearly screwed that straight into the middle pocket.
Yeah, that had to be a miss hit. There's no way that he was going to be bringing that cue ball nearly as close to that center pocket as that.
Well, I think a big part of that, Jim, was the fact that these cue balls that they're using here with the dots on have actually come up 2 grams heavier than the cue balls that we used to using, hence the fact there that he didn't get enough screw back on that ball.
Well, that yellow ball's just crept its way into that corner pocket. Just wiped its feet on its way in, and he's left himself a nice position on this ball now on the bottom rail. One that suggested it might be a slight problem position, but he should be okay now here to get back up the table for his other 2 yellows. And again, that's travelled a lot further, I think, than he anticipated there, or he wanted it to. Whether that yellow goes past the second yellow into the right-hand middle. You see there in the overhead it does.
And one good positional shot from the last yellow to the black.
I think he may have to screw the white up the table on and off the back cushion, and he may even use the left side cushion as well here. He may pot this with bottom left hand side off the top cushion, maybe off the side cushion, and pot the black in the bottom left. There's the top cushion, the side cushion, and he's played it really, really well.
Yeah, great spot there, Gareth.
Well, Carl Morris enjoyed a 2-0 lead at the outset of this quarterfinal. He finds himself 6-5 in front right now, taking the last 2 frames, but still a long ways to go. It's a race to 9. Morris in control. Tom Ford settling in, frame number 12, 6-5 to Morris. His shoulder into that one again, and I didn't hear anything drop. And if Ford should go down to defeat here, I guarantee you he's going to be talking about his lack of success on the break.
But I think, Jim, in all fairness to the referee, he hasn't been racking the balls up badly, as you can see how the balls have been splitting. I mean, look at that there. There's what, 1, 2, there's 7 balls that are past the bulk line.
And never mind past the bulk line, they're all tied up against the cushion too. I mean, we've never seen this.
So I don't think it's a case of the referee racking the balls up badly, because if that was the case, the balls wouldn't be breaking at all. They're actually breaking, they're just not making a ball.
I'll tell you what else is noticeable, Gareth. Tom never even had a look at the rack. After the referee put the triangle together, he just got down and hit him.
Yeah, I think that just goes back to suggesting that Carl was just trying the mind games again a little bit, and say as the previous incident with Pat Holtz and Jason Twist. But don't know whether it's just starting to affect Tom a bit. I don't know.
Well, certainly the one yellow that Carl is nearest to right now has to be the problem ball. The top of the table amongst all those reds.
30 seconds.
And at some stage, he's going to have to either develop that or try and mature his position by gaining control of that top pocket, top right as we look. He owns the bottom one.
And I think at some point he may be happy to just bounce his bad ball out, Jim. Just bounce his bad ball out, maybe even try and go for it. But you know, look, if he doesn't pot it, then you know what has Tom got?
Yeah, knowing he's in control because he does own that pocket.
Do you think, Gareth, that he could try and double that yellow, maybe the full length of the table? Well, he hasn't. He's moved it out there. I was just going to suggest he might try and double it onto the ball over the right-hand corner, but he's not. He's taken the opportunity and he's moved it out.
Yeah, I think that the reason that you've just seen him pull his face a little bit there is the fact that he's got to pop the ball that's the bottom left as we look at from this angle. Then he's going to be playing the plant onto the ball over the pocket, and then it's the fact that he's got to get the cue ball over the other side of the table for the 8 in the corner, and he wants to be close to it, Jim.
He's just pointing at that red, and I just wondering if he's going to try and play the yellow off the red onto the yellow over the pocket. Maybe just clear the red out of the way a little bit then. It's a dangerous shot though.
Well, effectively thinking 3 shots ahead.
He's filled us all there and played the cross double.
Well, yeah, the problem's still there.
It's still there, Jim. The problem's still there.
I mean, he can't see that yellow, and from that yellow, he's going to have to get to the black. as Gareth has already pointed out. And you can see how Morris feels about it.
And a good thing to mention is I think if this was the other way around, if this was Tom in this position, the way that he plays and the confidence in his own potting ability, he would be quite happy to just leave the white, you know, somewhere in this end of the table and just have a shot at it. Where Carl, you know, he plays to his strengths. He knows that he's not the best potter in the world, but he has got a really good pool brain.
But I also see a lot of poker in Carl here. I see a lot where, you know, the hesitation, putting your chips in the middle. Well, obviously he could get through. So, I mean, all the head shaking, as I said, was all for naught.
Yeah, I mean, he does do that at times, you know, and as your opponent against that, you know, you're sitting there watching and you think that he's got to play a tough shot and all along he could actually get through to it.
But that can be unsettling. And it can rattle your nerves. So he's got the long 8 to go 7-5 clear. And down it goes, 7-5 confirmed here from the Norbert Castle in Blackpool. In the ImproveYourPool.com World 8-Ball Championships, Carl Morris, 7-5 in front of Tom Ford.
Yeah, well, it looks like Carl's disappeared. He's gone for a toilet break. Now whether Tom's doing the same, yeah, Tom's decided he's not going to sit there and hang around for Carl Morris. He's going again.
So that's an interesting little break, forced it looks like by Carl Morris there, but it also seems part of Carl Morris's game. We mentioned the hijinks at the beginning. He's almost in that sort of Quinton Hahn, Jimmy White kind of mode, where he needs that kind of performance. He needs to play to the audience to get himself playing well.
Yeah, he has to beat himself up and beat his opponents up to get the best out of Carl Morris. I mean, he is a great player, but we could do without all the shenanigans all the time, really.
Tom Ford doesn't seem too bothered by it, but he's still struggling with his own game, and I think that's really all he needs to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, Tom will be a little bit annoyed if he loses this match with all the things that Carl's trying. I don't think he'll say that he has put him off, but I mean, Carl is trying his hardest to unsettle him.
Is it purely the break Tom's struggling on?
Yes, I'd say the break really hasn't got many balls down where Carl's been more successful, and that's probably why the scoreline is 7-5.
What about, do you have problems sometimes when the rack's done by certain different referees or whatever, or is it, you know, you just get on with it?
Anybody who's racking the ball, you can't always get them touching, and sometimes it bothers you, sometimes it doesn't. It
depends how your own demeanour is,
yeah? Your frame of mind depends on how you feel.
Is it tough playing someone like Carl Morris, who obviously has these different things in his arsenal, if you like?
Yeah, you just need to try and stay within yourself and don't let him bother you too much, but there's been many a time he's bothered me and you get upset, but sometimes I play him if I'm in the right frame of mind. You just say, carry on, Carl.
Can you see Tom Ford coming back?
Yeah, I mean, he's only 2 frames behind. The break, he needs to turn that around, but I'm sure Carl will try a few more strokes before the end of the match.
Well, quarter-final stages at the moment. An interesting and intriguing battle between these two. And Tom Ford desperately trying to win over the crowd and win over himself in terms of taking on the mighty Carl Morris, a former champion here. He's been doing a bit of 9-pull and definitely been learning from some of the theatrics of the game. But it's not over by any means. And Tom Ford has a chance here to perhaps settle himself, get into the stadium before Carl Morris comes back. And here comes Carl Morris. So without further ado, let's once again return to Jim Weish.
13th frame.
Well, for my money, Tom Ford has to regain his focus, because I think that Carl Morris has taken him a little out of stride here. 7-5 the scoreline in favor of Carl Morris. He's won the last 3 frames on the spin.
And here we go again. He's not happy with Andy's rack.
And look at Tom Ford. He had his head down, smiling. I think Carl Morris has gotten under Tom Ford's skin.
Well, yeah, because early on in the match, you know, Tom was laughing and having a joke, and now, well, it's gone beyond a joke, really, because it's getting serious for Tom. I mean, he's 2 frames away from being out of this tournament, Jim.
Look at Tom.
Yeah, he's just...
I mean, his body language speaks volumes. Well, this is part of his game plan, and he's playing it to perfection. 7-5 with the break. Going to be a long way back for Tom Ford now. and nothing down.
Open
Just
table.
look at the black. It appears to be tied up or with a red, bottom left-hand corner. And you see there on the overhead shot, the top left-hand side of your screen.
It looks like that red may be available, though.
Might just be able to get past it, be very straight on it. It's going back to the Carl Morris situation. I mean, if he is successful and gets through, he will be playing the winner of the Darren Appleton-Jason Twist quarter-final. And I'll tell you now, his mind games won't work on either of those two, I'm sure. Certainly Twisty.
I agree 100%, Sean. I mean, he knows he's taking advantage here a little bit with an inexperienced player, certainly on the 8-ball stage.
He obviously feels he probably can get through to that red that's, as you said, by the black. And he's decided he's going to take reds here. And that's probably his only problem here, Gareth.
Yeah, I think Jim is right. I think he can definitely pot this ball next to the black, obviously providing he gets the cue ball in the correct position, which is over the right-hand side of the table, anywhere near that middle pocket. I think within 4 to 6 inches, I think he can pot this red. So it's just a matter of clearing the other balls up, and he'll probably leave it till last. He's just checking now if it goes.
Well, it almost looks like the red on the right-hand side of the table, at the top end as we look, is the problem ball. You'll want to get at that right after this red, and that's exactly what he's elected to do. Not a lot really to do here. This is just a matter of keeping your head down and all those hours of practice. That's what comes into play. And this just goes into the... Well, he caught me off guard there. It almost looked like that red went. Obviously tried to get the other red behind the black.
Well, yeah, well, what I think he tried to play was the red that he's just played into the cushion and tried to plant it onto the red we were talking about. But, I mean, I'm almost certain that if he'd have got the white over that side of the table, he could have potted it, Jim.
Too much too soon. He tried to get it all back in one go. But now Carl's playing safe here. And look where the yellow's finished.
Yeah, he's not made it. And he's handed the initiative back again to Tommy in this frame. I'm surprised there.
Are you certain of that? Because I think that yellow has come right into the path of the red. Well, that's not a bad result, though. There was a 4-ball plant there, and you can see the situation that Carl finds himself in with the yellows.
Yeah, you just saw Carl come to the table there, and he actually tapped the table as if to say it was a good shot because he's put Carl in a bit of trouble here. But
not sure he wanted that in, Gareth.
No, he didn't, and like as we mentioned before, you know, Carl really enjoys to have a tactical frame, but he's got to do something really quick here because the next time Tom comes to the table, I'm sure he'll be going for the finish if Carl doesn't get a ball over the pocket somewhere.
It just makes you wonder, say, with Tom's background, how much of the tactics he knows.
Well, this is a chance for Tom. The problem, obviously, that 8, he's going to have to try and possibly play that red off the yellow to clear the pocket for the 8.
Just wondering if he's going to screw back here and then play the plant. No, he's not. Oh, he's played a great shot there, just moved that yellow out of the way.
Yeah,
fantastic shot.
Fantastic shot, brilliant.
But he does have to try and clear this pocket, unless he tries to drop. Well, he can't even drop on the 8. It isn't available to the other corner.
I think he's going to play the shot you suggested at first, Jim. He's going to play the red off the yellow and stun the white out into the middle of the table. Yeah.
Key shot here.
I think he's going to almost overcut it off the edge of the yellow, which will then free the path for the 8 into the same pocket.
Time out.
Things can go wrong with this.
I mean, he might even be looking at playing cushion first, Gareth. Like I say, get right in behind it, fetch it off.
Time running.
The yellow. It's just dangerous that where the yellow, if he overcuts it, the yellow could knock the black away.
And cushion first. If he ends up too thick a contact, he's not going to get back in front of the 8 to the same pocket. Oh, beautifully played.
There's the yellow gun on the other side. And the cue ball, oh, he's okay.
Anxious moments, but home and dry in the end. Tom Ford alive and kicking in this one. It's 7-6 to Carl Morris, but Ford with the break in frame 14.
Frame, Tom Ford to break, trails by 6 frames to 7.
I was wondering whether or not Tom would have a quick look at the pack. And you can see him just shrugging. He's enjoyed no success off the break, so he's trying the middle of the table like Morris. And nothing down.
Open table.
And that is a long walk back to your chair from a very short distance.
I think, Jim, because he hasn't had any success off the break, he's tried to hit them too hard, and I think all the technique went out the window there, and he totally mishit the pack, and all his body moved, and what happened was he took all the pace out of the cue ball, if you watch.
Yeah, you see his arm came through there, like you say, Gareth, and came up. Lost all his shape on the shot, if you like. So I was thinking exactly the same thing. He's just trying to hit it too hard. He's frustrated.
That is how it gets sometimes, you know, Sean. You're not making a ball off the break, and it's frustrating, you know, where Carl is making the balls off the break. And I think Tom will be happy to be 7-6 at the minute, especially the way that Carl's been breaking.
Yeah, but for 1 or 2 loose shots, he could have quite easily been sat back in his hotel room now, and Carl Morris would be in the semi-finals.
Still a little work to do, though, for Carl. He knows it. There's no way that Tom Ford is going to go down without a shout in this. He's come too far. Between 600-700 qualifiers. He played in a pre-qualifier, as we noted earlier in this broadcast, and he's not ready to go home.
Well, the problem is, if Carl finishes from here, it's then Carl to break in the next frame. He might not get another shot.
Yeah, but you don't want to go home early, do you, Sean? There's lots of pool to be played here yet.
Oh, most definitely, Jim.
Don't have a table booked for dinner that I'm not aware of or anything, so you stay where you are. This is going to heat up, and it wouldn't surprise me if it goes right to the wire. We've already had 1-9-8 finish. Chris Melling and Mick Hill served up a beauty. Wasn't the best of standards, but when it goes 8-8, who cares?
Carl's once again run out of position here again, Jim. He's just, I don't know what he played the last shot. He cannoned into the reds and the whites ended up nowhere.
And he's played a great recovery shot though there. Left himself choice these 2 balls at the top of the table.
Well, he's going to take the right one, Sean, then he's going to play the one down the cushion next, because it offers easier position to get onto the black ball, which is on the other side of the table.
I'll tell you something, that wiped his feet. I thought just for a second there he'd missed that.
This is the big shot in this frame. He's got to gather himself here. He can afford no mistakes now.
Big shot in this match, Jim. That could possibly have just sealed Tom Ford's fate. So with Carl Morris to break off in the next frame, he might not get another shot at this year's championships.
He hasn't potted this black ball yet, Sean. Especially now he's just cannon that red and not got as close to it as he would have liked.
Hold your breath. Dead center. Carl Morris just 1 frame away from a place in the semifinals. 8-6, and with the break in frame 15. You got to tip your hat to Morris there. That might well have been the best frame he's played in the match.
What an important one it was as well, Jim. See now, 8-6, 7 each. It's a huge gap at this stage of the match. One more away from the win.
This is the big shot here, the frame. He's got great position there. And he didn't, as you say, he didn't play the greatest of shots here. He just cannoned that red, which I didn't think he was trying to do. He's probably trying to come behind it. And he's played a great shot there on the black.
Yeah, in fairness, that 8 never looked out. And if you can lip read, that was, "Could you please rack again, sir?"
15th frame, Carl Morris to break. He leads by 8 frames.
Well, you've heard our referee announce it. He's got 1 foot over the finish line. It's all about dragging the other one over. 8-6 to Carl Morris and breaking for the win.
And has he handed Tom Ford a lifeline here? He's come up dry on the break. Quick look at the table, there's a little cluster. His ball's clustered really around the black spot, or in that area just to the left of the black spot, and it's a question of picking the way around this one.
Well, Chris Melling was 8-7 down to Mick Hill and needed the last 2 to secure a 9-8 win. Tom Ford finds himself 8-6 down, so he's got to secure the last 3 if he's to book a date with either Darren Appleton or Jason Twist in the semis. And one thing's for certain, even if he wins here, he's got the break in the next. The break hasn't been too friendly.
No, if you remember though, that's what happened in the Chris Melling match, as you said. The break wasn't too friendly to Chris, but when he really needed it, he came up, broke and finished to tie the match up at 8 each. And then Mick Hill came up dry and handed it the match almost to Chris Melling.
Well, Tom's just tried to develop those balls there by potting the red into the left centre, because none of them pot anywhere. The two reds that are in this end of the table. So now he's in a little bit of trouble really. He can still pot the 3 balls that are in the bulk end, but how's he going to get on the other 2?
I think possibly the one that he's the closest to goes into the bottom left corner pocket, and that one goes in the middle.
This one pots in the centre.
Yeah.
Well, that makes life a lot easier, and he's played a great shot there. He's landed behind this. This pots into the top left corner, and he can run the cue ball through.
Big shot here. Got down and struck as though he was on the practice table. They always say the key to success is to play like it means nothing when it means everything. Right now, Tom Ford has to dig deep. If he's got character, he's got to call upon it right now.
And what a finish this would be, Jim, at 8-6 behind to take it 8-7 with his break to come.
Anxious moments, though.
Doesn't want to be straight on this red. Screwing back with the reverse side.
And a lot of spin on that cue ball, getting it back towards the center. Leaving the 8 to keep his hopes alive. And down it goes. Tom Ford still on course. 8-7 to Carl Morris. But if Tom Ford can figure the breakout in the next, he can force a 1-frame decider. And at 8-7, you know what's going through his mind right now. What is the answer to this mystery they call the break?
You saw there, he was having a little shake of his head when he'd gone back, had a little sip of water. He just doesn't know. I think what he's trying to decide in his mind is where is he going to break from. He seemed to change his break position on the last one.
Well, I think he almost looked disappointed then, Sean, before it even broke off.
Can't admit defeat to it. There's too much at stake, too much to play for. Just one good break. That's all he wants.
7 frames to 8.
Flip a coin, Tom, and decide where you want to place that cue ball. (8-7) to Carl Morris. And a ball down on the break.
Red ball potted.
But it is not the easiest of tables. That last color moving came down to the bottom left as we look, just to keep things awkward.
Well, I think knowing Tom, he'll be going reds here, and he'll definitely be going for the finish. That's the way he plays. He attacks.
You'll see here on the break-off shot here, you see he's moved over to the other side of the table, and that ball, that front ball, straight into the left-hand middle pocket.
30 seconds.
And nice control of that cue ball. Never hit a cushion, so a much purer hit.
Red ball's in play.
Yeah, that's right, Jim. A great break. Parked the white in the middle of the table and made a ball. That's all you can aim for.
I tell you what, that ball just had a little wobble then when it got into the pocket. We've seen one or two bounce outs in the main arena where balls actually gone down the pocket in a corner pocket and come back out again. Fortunately, we've not seen that today, and fortunately for Tom Ford, it doesn't happen then.
Well, his eyes are darting around the table, just weighing up the path when that measled cue ball will be taking.
You see what he's doing now, he's weighing up, playing the left-hand side of that red onto the cushion, onto the yellow, and trying to knock the red in. He's not made it.
And that shot was never on, Sean. That shot was never there to get the plant. I think the balls were too close.
I think the other thing is, you'll see after this replay, you see it's not worked, and the other thing is he's opened up the pocket there. I think Carl Morris could play that yellow and move both of those reds out here. Or is he just going to, he's playing a containing shot, just trying to tie the pocket up?
And I think at this stage of the match, Sean, that's the right shot, especially against someone like Tom that wouldn't be able to match Carl in the tactical department. But I think that was a misjudgment there from Tom. The shot before, I'm sure that plant wasn't on.
I'm not sure that either one of those hit a cushion.
Yeah.
I think, did he
Referee's
call
called
a foul? I believe he called it on himself. I just saw him acknowledge it, and I think Tom, the sportsman that he is, he acknowledged that foul before the referee.
I'm pretty sure obviously the cue ball didn't hit the side rail, and obviously he knew that. But it was a question of whether the red had reached, and we couldn't see from where we were looking.
Well, if Tom did call a foul on himself there, then that's great sportsmanship, because I don't think the referee was in a position to actually come round and see where that red. Obviously only Tom would know, really.
Could be the beginning of the end of Tom Ford's run, and that's what's going through his mind. Morris will take no prisoners here, make no mistake.
He's just nudged that yellow down a little bit, so he can plant it onto the yellow over the pocket.
There's a good shot there, and you suggested Gareth going to play the plant here. And all he's got to do now is just keep his composure and just play a nice, sensible pool, nothing extravagant, and he'll have a place in the semi-finals.
Yeah, and don't forget, Sean, he's got 2 visits in hand still.
Nicely played.
Well, it's worked out okay, but I'm not convinced that was the shot that Gareth, I think you wouldn't have played anything like that, would you? Say, you didn't have to play anything extravagant.
Yeah, no, I thought he could have just played the plant, dead weight, dropped the ball over the pocket, and the other one still goes. But obviously, it's the right shot if it turns out to be the winning one. So just got to drop this one on the cushion. And he's got 2 shots to pot 2 balls, which are in the middle of the table basically.
And still with a shot in hand. And just trundle this in, the natural path of the cue ball. We'll head over to the left-hand side as we look.
He may swing it back over to the right-hand side maybe here.
And I think the white flag is going to be coming out soon. And this 8 for Morris's dream of a 2nd world title. Down it goes, and Carl Morris, they call him Houdini, but he dipped into his book of experience to come through in this one. A 9-7 win over a very game Tom Ford, and Morris is through to the semi-finals.
Well, an interesting match in many ways. It stepped up a gear eventually, but the Ford Focus just couldn't handle the Morris Minor. And Lee, fair enough though, in the end, Carl did exactly what he needed to do. He used the game to his advantage, got tactical at the end there, and Tom just couldn't break it, really. That's what it came down to.
Well, Tom didn't make many balls off the break. That was the deciding factor on the skill side of it, but Morris's tactics, I think, were a little bit out of order. It's about time that he would stop doing it, really. This is the World Finals we're playing.
Can he go on and win it playing this way, though? He needs to step up in terms of his own game, doesn't he?
Yeah, his general play was good, but I think he does a mind game to try and refocus himself. So, you know, he just needs to try and get on with the pool now.
Well, his focus is now the semi-finals. Let's take a look at the quarter-final lineup in terms of, we've had 3 matches now. Mark Selby going through 9-4, Chris Melling winning 9-8 over Mick Hill. Carl Morris there going through 9-7. And Jason Twist, the Tornado, still to play against Darren Appleton. And finally, Lee Kendall, as captain of England, I know you're looking forward to the matchup finally in the quarterfinals between those two. Jason, we've 2 players you've played many, many times before.
That's right. Jason has won the title twice and Darren's yet to win it. He got to the final last year, and a lot of people would like him to win it because what he's won in the game, he does deserve to win a world title before his career's over. So it will be a good match, though.
Well, my thanks to Lee Kendall. Well, Carl Morris did it in the most dramatic of fashions, but either way, he's through to the semi-finals. We'll see you next time from Blackburn.